You've been doing the work, maybe for years, sitting in silence, watching your thoughts, returning to the breath, following the teachings, and somewhere along the way, slowly, the way light changes in a room, without you noticing, something stopped making sense. And the strange part is, it wasn't the teachings that stopped making sense. It was the one who was doing all of it. There's something about this that I recognize from the inside, still present, a quiet bewilderment that doesn't announce itself as suffering. It just sits there, somewhere beneath the practice, beneath the effort, like a question that dissolved before you could finish asking it. And here's what the mind does with that. It turns back toward effort, more practice, deeper understanding, a different approach. The search continues, only now it's searching for what went wrong with the search. Robert Adams was direct about this in a way that takes a moment to land. He said, "Your searching is what keeps you back. Every movement to locate yourself, to find the one who got lost, each one of those efforts, however sincere, is feeding the very thing you're trying to dissolve." And he wasn't talking about the wrong kind of searching. He was talking about all of it, which leaves something quietly impossible sitting in the room. If the search is the problem, who stops it? And if someone stops it, isn't that still the search? Adams was not a dramatic man. There was nothing theatrical about how he spoke. He sat in a room in Los Angeles, sometimes raining outside, sometimes just an ordinary afternoon, and talked to whoever came, softly, almost casually, as if what he was pointing at was the most obvious thing in the world, and the only mystery was why no one could see it. He said this, and I want you to stay with it, rather than move past it quickly. There is no real purpose for you being alive. It sounds harsh until you hear what he was actually pointing at. The entire project of becoming, of improving, of finding yourself, of waking up, all of it is built on a foundation that the mind, in all its spiritual ambition, cannot quite bring itself to question. That there is a self which needs to be found, a person who got lost somewhere and must be recovered. Adams was asking whether that person was ever real to begin with, and the question he kept returning to, gently, almost playfully, was simply, who is that person exactly? There's a particular quality to spiritual lostness. It's not the lostness of someone who never had a direction. It's the lostness of someone who did and can't quite locate it anymore, which means it arrives with a story already attached. The story of someone who once had something, lost it, and needs to recover it. Without that story, there is only this moment, which doesn't know it's incomplete. Adams pointed at this directly. He said the mind creates the dream of a spiritual journey, complete with a traveler who is somewhere on the path, making progress or losing ground. And then that same mind goes looking for a way out of the journey, without ever asking whether the traveler was real to begin with. This is where his teaching starts to feel less like comfort and more like a floor disappearing beneath you. He used an image that has stayed with me in a way I didn't expect. He talked about a bird. The reason a bird moves through the world with such ease, he said, is because it doesn't know it's a bird. It has no concept of what it is. It doesn't carry a story about its nature, its progress, its failures. It just is. And that justness, that pure, unnamed presence, is what humans have buried under layers of self-concept, spiritual identity, and the continuous inner monologue that says, this is me, This is where I am. This is what I still need to become. Whether understanding that changes anything, I genuinely don't know. Whether you can hear it and simply be like the bird. There's something in me that suspects the hearing is still happening to someone, that even the recognition gets absorbed back into the search. But occasionally, very briefly, the one who is listening seems to thin out, becomes less insisted upon, and it's not an experience you can claim. It's more like a gap in something that usually runs without interruption. Maybe you've noticed that too. Adams was unsparing about what he called the spiritual search. He said people come wanting a teaching, a mantra, a technique, a way out. And all of it, every single thing they acquire, adds another layer to the seeker, makes the one who is seeking more real, more defined, more entrenched. The ego, he said, is never more secure than when it's on a spiritual path, because now it has meaning, now it has direction, now it is the one who is waking up. And waking up, he said, with something close to amusement, is a joke. The one who is trying to wake up is precisely what needs to dissolve, and it cannot dissolve itself. The hand cannot cut itself off. The eye cannot see itself seeing. So what does that leave? This is the place in most spiritual teachings where something reassuring gets offered. A practice, a pointer, a gentle instruction. Adams didn't do that. He just let the question sit. He was comfortable in a way that was almost unsettling. Comfortable with not resolving it, with leaving people in that open, groundless space where the usual moves don't work. Because he wasn't trying to give you something to hold on to. He was noticing, very quietly, that you'd been holding on all along, and that the holding was the thing. He said, there is absolutely nothing you have to do. The doing, the constant interior management, the monitoring, the adjusting, the quiet efforting toward presence, all of that is the noise. The whole thing. And somewhere in the room where he sat, people would hear that and something would either open or close. Either the mind would reach for another concept to make sense of it, or something would simply stop, just for a moment. And in that stopping, there would be a quality of recognition that had nothing to do with understanding. There's a sign that something is shifting, and naming it too clearly turns it into another thing to seek. So I'll say it lightly. It's not a dramatic experience. It's something much smaller, a moment when the effort to be somewhere other than here becomes briefly, quietly, exhausting, an honest fatigue with the whole project of becoming. Adams called this grace, the beginning of the end of something very old, the story of the seeker, the one who is lost, the one who needs to be found. And notice what's happening right now. Even as you listen, the mind that followed all of this, the one that found certain moments resonant, others less so, the one that's been quietly measuring how close this feels to something it already suspected, that mind is already turning these words into material, adding them to the search, making them into a more refined version of the same movement. It can't help it. And that's fine. That's the nature of the thing. Adams knew this. He said it clearly. Hearken to what I say, and then forget it. A literal instruction about what these words are for. They point at something that cannot be pointed at, and then they're released. Held onto, they become another layer of the search. So here is where this video ends. Without a conclusion, because the kind of thing being pointed at here doesn't conclude. Without a practice, because nothing is being asked of you, just something simple and maybe a little uncomfortable. Sitting in the room, there is something present right now that has not moved through this entire video. Underneath the thoughts that came and went, underneath the moments of recognition or resistance, something that doesn't know it's listening, doesn't know it's seeking, carries no spiritual identity, and no distance left to travel. Adams would say, that's what you are, already, without doing anything at all. And the only question worth sitting with is this: is there actually anyone here who is lost? Or has that always been a story told by something that was never lost to begin with? If something in this video landed in a way you didn't expect, Robert Adams' talks are collected in a book called Silence of the Heart. I've left the link in the pinned comment below. Worth sitting with if you feel drawn to it, and if this kind of content creates even a moment of genuine stillness, consider subscribing to the channel. There's more here for those who are ready to stop looking for a way out and start noticing what was never lost.